Myth number 2. God wants us to know everything about the future. God does not tell us everything about the future. If He did, where would faith be? God does not reveal what's coming next week or next month or next year. In fact, we don't even know what tomorrow may hold. But God urges us to live by faith for Him. Folks, I'm not saying that we should not be concerned about the future. In fact, we need to be concerned about the future. But we as Christians, we need to live today for the one who holds tomorrow. If we are Christians, if we have accepted Christ into our heart and given our life for Him, God has prepared a place for us. It is called heaven. It will one day be our home for eternity. In the meantime, we are to live by faith, believing that God is preparing us for His eternal home. Paul tells us in 2 Corinthians, "Therefore, being always of good courage and knowing that while we are at home in the body, we are absent from the Lord. For we walk by faith, not by sight. We are of good courage, I say, and prefer rather to be absent from the body and to be at home with the Lord." One reason that God doesn't reveal our entire future is because He wants us to trust Him moment by moment as we take one step at a time. But we do know as believers where these steps will ultimately take us. Myth number 3. God's greatest goal for my life is my happiness. There is some truth about this statement. If you follow God, you will eventually find happiness. But let me state this quite clearly. God is more concerned about our character than He is about our comfort. As Americans, many of us have been caught up with the myth that we deserve to be happy and successful. Some of us believe that God wants us to be happy as well. This is a myth. God is more concerned with our holiness than He is with our happiness. In fact, God is committed to our holiness, not our happiness. He is committed to our purity rather than our pleasure. In order for our character to change, sometimes He allows us to go through some pretty tough times. It is these tough times that build our character. Here is a fact. God is in the life-changing business. He takes that which is broken and fixes it. He takes that which is bent and straightens it out. He takes that which is shattered and puts it back together. That is what God does. God is in the life-changing business, and He is more concerned with our character than He is with our comfort. Have we ever thought that if we are going to become like Jesus, we may just have to go through those rough times that He did? It may be true. Do you remember what Matthew chapter 5 says? Let me read it for you. "Blessed are you when men cast insults at you and persecute you, and say all kinds of evil against you falsely, on account of me. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward in heaven is great, for so they persecuted the prophets who were before you." To tell you the truth, I don't really like this passage much, but I do like the reward that God offers if I stay faithful to Him. God wants me to be faithful to Him, and in this process, I will become like Jesus. My faithfulness may not lead to a comfortable life, but I can guarantee that it will be a character-building life. Now let us look at our focal verse again. "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your path straight." What must we do about these decisions? Step number 1, trust in the Lord. To trust in the Lord is to make a commitment to the Lord. It is to rely on God and believe that He is big enough to take care of all situations. The writer of Proverbs goes on to talk about the volume of our trust when he says, "with all your heart." God does not want half-hearted devotion to him, nor does he want half-hearted trust. He wants our full devotion and our full trust. You have probably heard the story of the chicken and the pig, but if you haven't, let me tell it to you. A chicken and a pig were walking down the road together when they came to a sign in front of a building that said, "Annual fundraiser, ham and egg breakfast." The chicken said to the pig, "Hey, that's right up our alley. Why don't we go in and help out?" To which the pig replied, "That's easy for you to say. For you, that's just a contribution. For me, we are talking total commitment." Are you just making a contribution, or are you ready to make a total commitment to Christ? When the verse says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart," it means just that. Make a total commitment to trust God. The second thing this verse tells us to do is stop trying to be in control. Do not lean on your own understanding. Proverbs 3-5. We have been given a positive admonition in the first part of the verse to trust in the Lord with all your heart. And now we are told, do not lean on your own understanding. Why? Because we have limited understanding. We do not understand everything. We do not even see the entire picture. We don't have all the facts. Let's admit it. Most of us think that we can figure out most of the things on our own. We can do just fine by ourselves. But if we are serious about making wise decisions, we must fight against that internal inclination to trust in our own understanding. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't use common sense or the wisdom that God gives us, but it does mean that we should not trust on our understanding for total support. If we try to figure out our life and handle every decision that comes our way, we will be in trouble. Proverbs chapter 28 and verse 26 says, "If you think you know it all, you are a fool for sure. Real survivors learn wisdom from others." Have you ever made decisions based on misinformation or limited information? I have. Did you know that God does not make decisions with limited information? How could he? He knows everything. Remember the verse from James chapter 1 that I read earlier. Let me read it again. "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him." God, who knows things, is willing to help us make decisions. Lean not on your own understanding. Point 3 is, acknowledge God in all our ways. God wants us to trust him. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. Go ahead and circle the word "all" in verse 6.